So glad you can join us. Here's what we have for you this Thursday, taking stock of Canada's deepening food insecurity crisis.
If you want to have the proper amount of food, then you're taking rent or bill money.
The desperate decisions Canadians are making to feed their families.
My sister couldn't name those names.
What could be revealed under a new deadline to release the Epstein files?
We saw an opening in the market.
Plus, how this Canadian business is blowing up a tariff trend.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
A cost of living crisis with Canadians facing some sobering choices these days when it comes to affordability. We learned today from a national survey that food insecurity has soared in this country, with far too many people struggling to figure out how to feed their families. CTV's John Vanavalli-Rao now on what people are doing as the cost of food remains a top concern. John?
Sandy, even though food inflation has moderated, the survey's measure of food insecurity is at a record high. When it comes to attitudes towards food prices, the survey found they remain a top expense pressure for households.
My experience is they've been going up, 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 up.
The report finding many Canadians are increasingly challenged by persistent food inflation, and it's been changing how they shop, cook, and eat in order to cope.
Canadians are adopting frugal habits, like switching brands, looking for coupons, discounts when they're buying products.
The survey, in fact, finding almost half of the 3,000 respondents are seeking out more sales and discounts. Nearly a quarter are using more coupons and shopping at cheaper stores as they try to make ends meet.
But yeah, you can find deals and sales all the time.
With more than a quarter reporting they struggle to afford food, up from nearly 23% a year ago. Food banks have reported a huge surge in the number of families seeking help.
Nice to get it out there. Like, this is so good that people are talking about it.
Karina Roberts is a single mom with 3 boys who says she may need to start going to a food bank every 2 weeks.
They are helpful, but I mean, then again, sometimes they don't have everything either. And it's a lot of canned stuff. And that's great. It's awesome that there's that help, but there's not a lot of fresh. There's not a lot of meat. There's not a lot of fruit.
The survey found many Canadians are prioritizing eating at home to manage costs. And on average, respondents say they now pay $515 a month for household food, compared to under $500 in the spring, which is a modest increase. On that front, many do overestimate the rate of food inflation this year. Almost 1 in 3 believe prices have gone up more than 10% over the last year, nearly triple the actual amount. And while affordability is still a major issue, the survey also found that Canadians are cautiously optimistic that food prices will somewhat stabilize in 2026. Sandy.
Okay, John, thank you. So as Canadians figure out what to buy and how to shop smartly, we asked CTV's Adrian Gobriel to check out some of the major grocery chains and give us a sense of what costs what. Adrian.
Sandy, if the cost at the grocery store has left a bad taste in your mouth, you're not alone.
Before, maybe I spend like $50 to $80 a week, weekly, but now it's like $150, $200.
You're getting used to the high prices.
Yeah. Fact of life, I guess.
Food price experts say those looking for a deal in the aisles are quickly learning that at the moment, there's really no safe place inside a Canadian grocery store. This month's inflation report found that food prices in October rose by 3.4%, down from a 4% spike in September. So as of right now, any incremental decrease in food inflation on a month-to-month basis isn't being felt by Canadians.
Because the challenge that we have with food inflation right now is that it remains way above general inflation.
Leading the way when it comes to the priciest pickings at your local grocer, the meat counter.
2 chicken breasts. It used to be like $7, now it's like $15-20 for 2 little chicken breasts, right?
All chicken prices are up 23% year to year. Ground beef is up almost 22% as well. Proteins in general is almost 40% of all the money you spend at the grocery store.
With the federal government dropping counter tariffs against the U.S., there is a hope that the rate of food price inflation will continue to decrease and finally be passed down to consumers as stores slash prices to keep loyal customers coming back for a second helping.
Prices here at the grocery store have remained elevated and exceeded overall inflation for 9 consecutive months. Sandy.
All right, Adrian, thank you. Now, amid all the economic gloom and doom, there is a Canadian company defying the odds. Sukoshi is a popular Asian beauty brand, first launched in Toronto's Kensington Market, with stores now across the country. And today, a K-pop superstar is helping Sukoshi blast its way into the U.S. market. Our very own CTV's Judy Trin is among the super fans there. Okay, Judy, talk to us about the vibe at the Toronto Eaton Centre.
Sandy, about 200 fans have been waiting for a few hours just to get an autograph with K-pop star Mark Twan. He, of course, is with the former band GOT7, and now he's embarking on a solo career. This is a marketing strategy for Sukoshi that even Donald Trump can't stop. Most of the beauty and lifestyle products on the shelves of Sukoshi are from South Korea. It's K-beauty, powered by a cultural phenomena.
I was definitely more interested in it when K-pop started like booming as well, right? Like BTS or Blackpink, they started getting really popular. So everyone was like, oh, these people are so beautiful.
There's just like a difference in like the colors that they make stuff in. And also the people are really friendly when you come here.
Sukoshi sells Asian products, but its roots are Canadian. There are already 16 stores across the country, but the CEO has even bigger ambitions south of the border.
We kind of want to make the Canadians proud too, as being a Canadian brand. I think one of the things as Canadians is we're very humble in what we do, and for me, I just want to show that, you know, Asian beauty has a global presence, and there's so much runway in the U.S. for this.
You heard her. Sukoshi is opening on the Upper East Side.
Undaunted by a trade war, Sukoshi opened a store in New York City in September. 1 year from now, it has plans to expand to nearly 40 stores, almost all of them in the U.S. Despite tariffs, the company says it's been able to keep prices stable.
One of the things is just strengthening our margins, working with our brand partners, figuring out ways that we can sort of grow the industry and make it a win in all situations.
Now, Sukoshi is already the biggest purveyor of K-beauty in North America. It wants to be the Canadian equivalent of Sephora, headquartered in Toronto with a global footprint and with a K-pop star to support. Sandy.
Get an autograph, Judy. Thanks so much, CTV's Judy Trin. Well, some deal-making going on behind the scenes. Sources are telling CTV News that Alberta and Ottawa are close to signing off on a pipeline project. But BC and Indigenous groups still have to agree. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver on the challenges ahead.
The Honourable Premier of Alberta.
The energy project Premier Danielle Smith has been pushing for could soon be one step closer to reality. Sources say a memorandum of understanding between the Premier and the Prime Minister is coming down the pipeline. As part of that deal, sources say Ottawa is considering an easing of a BC North Coast tanker ban, lowering or removing of the emissions cap, and strengthening the industrial carbon tax, something Smith wants removed.
There's a huge gap between signing an MOU and actually having an operational pipeline.
But getting there won't be easy. Many Indigenous groups in northern and central BC have said they won't support it. BC's Premier won't either, despite recent polls showing more BC residents support a pipeline than ever before.
Just over half of British Columbians, about 56%, say that they could be on board with a pipeline project.
All that, analysts say, leads to expectations the pipeline could face costly delays and court challenges that make the project less viable.
No pipeline proponent right now is interested in trying to develop a pipeline that is probably going to be very expensive and face a lot of issues.
Today, the energy minister called the talks with Alberta constructive and said Ottawa, Sandy, will have more to say in a few weeks.
Right. All right, Annie, thank you. A difficult day for us here at CTV News. BCE, which owns CTV, has laid off nearly 700 people throughout the Bell organization, including 4 longtime colleagues in the news division. A Bell spokesperson says the reduction represents less than 2% of Bell Canada's workforce and includes 650 management positions, along with 40 positions at Bell Media, all non-unionized. Bell says the move is part of its 3-year strategic business plan. Well, Canada's Prime Minister is looking for new friends overseas as he tries to diversify trading partnerships. Today, Mark Carney signed a deal with the UAE, but human rights organizations accuse the Arab nation of supporting a group accused of atrocities in Sudan's civil war. CTV's Rachel Aiello is in Abu Dhabi with more on the business collaboration that comes with political risk. Rachel?
Sandy, Prime Minister Mark Carney spent his day in Abu Dhabi locking in a new investment pact, touring a cultural landmark and trying to lure capital from one of the world's wealthiest countries. Immersing himself in Emirati culture, Prime Minister Mark Carney took a midday break from bilateral and business meetings to tour the largest mosque in the country alongside Canada's ambassador to United Arab Emirates. Constructed using materials from across the globe, Carney called it a privilege to see.
Apart from the sheer beauty and the inspiration that it provides, it unifies in so many different ways.
And while the local government welcomed Canadian cameras in to capture that wasn't the case earlier when the Prime Minister and the President of the UAE had the first in-person leader-to-leader meeting in more than 40 years. During that private sit-down, Carney and his Emirati counterpart signed a new investment protection pact, known as a FIPA, and agreed to accelerate talks towards a new CEPA, a free trade agreement that, when finalized, would expand market access and facilitate billions of dollars in UAE investment into major port, mine, LNG, and critical mineral projects in Canada.
So the FIPA agreement took close to 10 years to get done. Are you at all confident that the CEPA could be finished on a faster clip?
Totally. This is,
What gives you that confidence?
well, you know, one of the reasons these things either get done or not done is leadership. If no one owns it or drives it, it's not going to happen.
While this country is a growing hub of economic activity, it's also under scrutiny over its involvement in the war in Sudan. And today, Carney had back-to-back meetings with big financial players, but took no questions on what specific security issues he raised with the president. His office said he didn't have time.
Okay.
Sandy?
Rachel Aiello in Abu Dhabi. Well, now that Donald Trump has signed the order for the release of the Epstein files, the U.S. Justice Department has 30 days to hand over those files. But the DOJ can still withhold some information. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon on how soon before word gets out. Joy.
Sandy, there was no fanfare or cameras invited to the White House to witness it, but with the president's signature last night, the Epstein Files Transparency Act is now the law. It's the moment many of the survivors and their families had been fighting for. Within 30 days from now, the Justice Department must release the files from their investigation into the late convicted sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein.
My sister couldn't name those names simply because, like, it would put her life at risk. It would put her family's life at risk. These people could sue you into homelessness. They're so powerful.
President Donald Trump, who was friends with Epstein for more than a decade, had resisted releasing the records, reversing course at the last minute, and still calling it a hoax he claims distracts from his achievements. So how much could Trump's Justice Department release? Already there's a large loophole. The law says information could be withheld that would jeopardize an active federal investigation or prosecution.
Even though they had previously said there's nothing more to investigate here, I believe precisely in order to try to shield information, they have opened a new investigation, which is on its face politically tinged, going after only Democrats.
President Trump just ordered new investigations into prominent Democrats like former President Bill Clinton and former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, who stepped back from his teaching position at Harvard as the university investigates his ties to Epstein.
Any tactic to delay this process is another smoke and mirror from this administration, and the American people have to be watchful of how they implement this bill.
Documents that could shine a light on Epstein's crimes include flight logs, travel records, investigations, plea agreements, and financial entities tied to Epstein's child sex trafficking ring. Sandy?
All right, CTV's Joy Malbon in Washington. A scene of outrage and protest in North Carolina after Border Patrol agents made more than 370 arrests over the weekend.
Money for jobs and education.
Protesters blowing ICE warning whistles and carrying protest signs formed volunteer patrol groups against the operation. They say agents were harassing Latino residents at grocery stores, churches, and residential areas. A startling and dangerous moment at the climate summit in Brazil today.
Whoa.
Fire broke out in a pavilion at the COP30 talks, triggering an evacuation. Video from the site shows at least one of the structures in flames and the frantic moments as authorities began to clear people out. The conference is designed for leaders from around the globe to gather and discuss how to tackle climate change. Brazil's tourism minister says no one was hurt. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he will speak to U.S. President Donald Trump in the coming days on a plan to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. Zelensky made the comments after the latest Russian attack. A peace plan has reportedly been in the works over the last few days between Russian and American officials. European leaders are pushing back against the plan over fears it would require Ukraine to give up land. The UN Security Council also held a briefing to discuss peace and security in Ukraine. A controversial figure in U.S. politics was laid to rest today. Former Vice President Dick Cheney was remembered as influential and uncompromising.
Dick was funny and easygoing in a style that his public image never caught up with. Though we can all agree he wasn't your standard issue politician. If any voters came hoping for a kind word and a hug, they'd have to settle for the kind word.
Politicians on both sides of the aisle, including former Presidents George W. Bush and Joe Biden, were among those gathered for Cheney's funeral. Neither U.S. President Donald Trump nor Vice President J.D. Vance were invited. Cheney died on November the 3rd. He was 84 years old. And a mysterious interstellar object has now been confirmed by NASA to be a comet.
To start with, I'd like to address the rumors right at the beginning. I think it's important that we talk about that. This object is a comet. It looks and behaves like a comet.
NASA has released new photos of the object known as 3I Atlas. It was first spotted in July and gained attention when rumors spread online that it was alien technology. NASA says the comet poses no threat to Earth. This used to be a booming season for Christmas tree growers, but now trade uncertainty with our southern neighbors appears to be driving down sales. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth went out to talk to some folks about how they're doing. Paul?
Sandy, pretty soon a lot of these trees will be sold at Christmas tree lots, but not as many in the U.S. compared to previous holiday seasons. For Christmas tree growers, this is always the busiest time of the year. Freshly cut trees are sold and shipped in time for December 25th. However, there are warning signs the industry could have a tough December.
The business is going to take a huge hit.
Colin Hughes ships more than 150,000 trees across Canada and around the world. His usual exports to the U.S. are down roughly 50% this year.
Down the eastern seaboard especially, there's I would say a nervousness.
According to Hughes, the trade war between Canada and the U.S. has pushed customers away from purchasing his trees.
General census that I was getting, and in fact, some of them said, like, we can buy $300,000 worth of trees from you, which is great, but if a tariff comes on to them the last minute, it costs us an extra $50,000 in tariff, that's our profit.
The Christmas tree industry represents big business in Nova Scotia, generating more than $50 million in revenue while supporting thousands of jobs. University professor Dan Shaw says American customers are likely managing risk during a time of economic uncertainty.
People act not necessarily always on data,
but on perception. And having instability of those relationships impacts people's purchasing decisions.
Colin Hughes says a drop in Christmas tree sales to the U.S. will impact his bottom line. But there is possibly some good news. If fewer trees are sold in the U.S., more trees could be available for sale here in Canada, and that could make up for any losses.
All right.
Sandy.
Okay, Paul, thanks. After the break, clothing that's fit for the king. The Canadian costume maker who has fans all shook up. Nanaimo, BC may be famous for its delicious layered dessert bars, but a lesser-known fact is the city's association with the king of rock and roll. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson now on the little shop that got Elvis fans all dressed up.
Inside a modest Nanaimo, BC home, you'll find one of the world's only major suppliers of a certain sort of swagger.
They're beautiful, you know. I never get tired of working on them.
Stitch by stitch, Eleanor Von Bedeker and her staff recreate the signature look of one of the past century's brightest stars.
I think it's just Elvis is the full package.
I hope this suit don't tear up, baby.
A big part of the Elvis Presley package, his iconic 1970s jumpsuits, complete with cape. Von Bedeker, a costumer by trade, started making them for Elvis tribute artists close to 20 years ago. Now, with 8 employees, she can barely keep up with demand, shipping out 600 jumpsuits a year, each priced between $1,000 and $4,000. And her clients' average age may surprise you.
Teenagers or young adults who are just getting started.
Young performers like Jonathan Hicks, a.k.a. Johnny Elvis, who comes to Eleanor.
It's a little tight across the thighs.
To perfect his look, impersonating the man he has idolized since he was 5.
I try to really study, go on my iPad, or I watch YouTube videos of him in the 70s. It's full time, and I'm very, very blessed to showcase my talent.
Hicks makes a living channeling Elvis full time, which I discovered is harder than it looks.
You do this whole stance, microphone in.
Left hand is mic.
And you can do a shimmy, you know? Faster. Come on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a labor of love for both Johnny and Eleanor, 2 of many, keeping the legend alive close to 50 years after Presley's death.
For my darling, I love you.
Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Nanaimo, BC.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that. Andrew, don't give up your day job. Thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm Sandra Ronaldo. Your local CTV News is coming up. Bye for now.